Okay, so hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is it. This is my first walkthrough of a track I made ever. I'm sorry if my English is not that good because I'm not that used to talk English and to do that spontaneously like now. So, what I did, you can see here, this is my Ableton project. The whole idea of the track was to participate at the great contest of the YouTuber called Loopop. He was at a Super Booth this year, and he made a great challenge to make a track with some samples he sampled off of synthesizers that did not come out yet. You cannot buy them yet, so that's a great thing. So you can use synthesizers from the future, kind of. And the challenge is great. The prizes are great, and I love Loopop as a YouTuber. He's one of my favorite YouTubers. He just shows you gear and shows you how to use it best. And so, actually, that's a great resource. You should check him out definitely. Um, okay. So what I was thinking about is that this track needs to have something futuristic, but I wanted to have it kind of like a dystopian atmosphere. So I decided to make a kind of like industrial techno track, um, and the vocals or like the talking inside the track just goes around the theme of using future technology. Okay, let's start with the vocals first.
What would you do if you could harness the power of the technology of the future?
That's just me talking into this mic and recording it. I did some format shifting.
What would you do if you could harness the power of the technology of the future?
In Audio auto pitch. I think there you can download a big free plug-in pack from them directly. Um, yeah, it's Melda Production. You should check them out. It's great. And then I
Future.
compressed it heavily
If you had a device which could transport you,
with the Tokyo Dawn Labs. That's also a company giving you some great free plugins with the Tokyo Dawn Labs Molotov, which is a great compressor, which gives you kind of like some grit when compressing the sound. It overdrives a little bit and gives you some more of those overtones. And because I wanted to have this industrial techno feeling, I just put it on everything nearly. And after the compressor, there's a delay, which has tappings on each side of the panning. So it's kind of like coming from the right and the left on different timings.
had a device which could transport.
Afterwards, I made a return track for the vocals, which contains a convolution reverb, uh, which you can get with Ableton Live, and the compressor where the reverb signal gets compressed down when the live signal comes in, so you don't have this mush in your mix where there's the reverb from the last sound you've heard mixing with the sound of the actual live and dry signal.
Which could transport you.
It gets compressed every time the dry signal comes in, and but you can hear the tail afterwards. Okay, so that's for the vocals, and that's not the main thing of the contest because vocals are allowed. It's not cheating, but except for that, you should use for the contest only sounds which were recorded by Loopop for the contest. So I will take one part here and loop it, and that's a part where nearly everything is playing. And you can listen through the track on YouTube now. Uh, but maybe later after the contest, I will publish it via DistroKid to have the whole track on Spotify and everywhere else where DistroKid distributes the songs. So I will loop this part now, and I will explain every part and every instrument I used. Okay, first you have the kick. It's a pretty beefy kick. I think it was it was a Peregrines Kick Loopop recorded, and I just used it as it is, and made the bass mono. I don't know why I did that here. It's just there. I tuned it to A because I wanted to have my new root note on A with like exactly 55 hertz. It's a pretty deep and nice bass sound, which transports to most systems very well. So here's the Peregrines Kick, and afterwards I made some EQing to have this clicky sound a little bit more, and to clean up a little bit of the mud, but it's still beefy and really gritty, so that I don't have to compress or overdrive it anymore. It sounds like great like that. Afterwards I did some sound shaping for the tail, because I don't want to interfere, to have the kick interfering with my sub bass. So that's what I did here. And my sub bass has a like a LFO kind of LFO2 thing with Tar Filter 2. It's also a free plugin you can from Togo Audio Line you can download for free. And my sub bass has a like the opposite form of the LFO for the volume. And so here's my sub bass. I will play it without the kick for now. And I found that was really great. That was one of the Nymphus patches Loopop recorded. I took it, played it on pretty low notes, but on not that low. Afterwards, I put Molotov on it for having a little bit of an overdrive and a compression, and it was like when I played it like that, it had a really big dynamic difference in the loudness of the single notes. So I compressed it heavily here, and afterwards I saturated it, and then compressed it a little bit, having a little bit more of the higher tones. After that, I put on a limiter to have even less dynamic range, to have it like loud as hell over the whole track. And then you can see here the opposite form of the LFO compared to the kick LFO. I can show you here. So that's kind of like they don't get in their way. Oh no, my CPU is freaking out. Okay, now I'll show you both together with the kick. It's already pretty groovy. And
Technology of the future.
those were the vocals. Okay. Now what I did, I found one sample, one patch Loopop made from the Super 6, pretty nice. I will show you. The cool thing about this, you can hear all the high like bell kind of like sounds, and below that there's, I think it's another oscillator or something like that, which has this like pad-like quality. When I heard that, I fell in love. I knew I had to have this in my track. So okay, I just played some notes. For the whole track, I used A Phrygian for two reasons. Phrygian sounds dark and dystopian. And the second reason is it's pretty easy to play because it's all the white notes on the keyboard, starting with A, but you instead of B, you use B flat, so one back key, and that's the root note A is, as I said, with 55 hertz, pretty low, but not that low. So most systems will play it really well. Okay, so that's that. I just randomly played this arpeggio, and I have another kind of like a B part of that instrument, and that's you can listen to that here. And I use that in kind of like different situations. I've seen that Loopop made some samples with the Buchla, and as you would know, it is Buchla is like a legendary synthesizer in techno music. So I knew I had to use Buchla sounds in my track, and I just I can show you. I pitched them a little bit down in the decent sampler. Loopop made all the patches and samples available as decent sampler patches, so you can just load up decent sampler, which is a free sampler, and just play the instruments. Okay, that's that. Afterwards, I put Molotok again, and after that, I made some filtered delays. Without the filtered delay, it just sounds like this. Just the single sounds, nothing really groovy, sounds kind of odd, but with all these different delay timings and other filters, it gets pretty, and panning, it gets pretty wild and great. And that's just a standard filter delay patch you when you pull it up in Ableton, and it sounds great. I didn't change it at all, and it's not perfectly in the scale, but this kind of like a little bit of a dissonance I find really nice in the track. It suits it well. Okay, so we have the Super 6 with this. Then we need some texture, and for that I used one sound from the Godfather patch, I think, yeah, where he made some. Godfather is a upcoming performance mixer, and I think those were loops going through the Godfather's effects, and because it's so atonal, I pitched it down, so I'm not really looking at the pitch or at any scale, but having the kind of like right timing, the right timing for the track. It's just always kind of like always going on in the background, and putting some texture on the sound. Okay. What do we have? We have some percons, and I don't really know how to call it. It was the 6M0MD6 module, I think, drum module he recorded. And I used some of the sounds, not all of them. I don't really know which is from which anymore, because I just put them in the ones I liked from the single samples, and just put them in the drum rack here with Ableton, and put on some effects. Maybe the most complicated here is my clap, where I EQ'd it a little bit and have this delay with different delay timings. Again, panned left and right on the clap. Then I have some cymbals, some other stuff going on, noise things, and this is kind of like a close hi-hat going on all the time. I will solo it for now, and I played with the panning a little bit, where these LFOs, one is for the volume and one is for the panning, so you have kind of like more dynamics and difference in stereo field, so it's not everything dead center. I'm not that great actually at panning drums, so mostly I try to like have everything centered or having it moving around, and I like that kind of like this feeling of dizziness and craziness going on. So that's what I mostly do. Okay. Then I have some like one shotty sounds from one of the Memphis patches, and I found that from this patch, this filter sweep just sounds great, and you just have to play one note at a time in the background with some hull you can see here, and that's great. It's enough. There's some compression on it, and that's it. Okay, that's just a great patch. You can use it as it is, and I use it occasionally through the whole song, and I use it for build-ups. Kind of, you can hear going up an octave, again an octave up, and again, and down again. It's just great. I like it. Okay. That would be it for a foundation. I can put on everything we did and play it together here.
What would you do if you could harness the powers of technology of the future? If you had the device.
Okay, so that's how that sounds. And then I thought, okay, we need a lead line or something like that. It's not really a classical lead line. It's not cutting through the mix like crazy. But what I wanted to do is use this sound. It was the Memphis. So stop the side chaining. Okay, that's just one of the Memphis patches, which is it's a great synthesizer, I think, because this sounds nice and great. But I thought it's not full enough. You know, it's just one voice and maybe even two oscillators, I'm not sure. But I thought it could use some harmony, and that's where I put in the same sampler. I just copied the tracks and put a MIDI effect on here, which pitched it up 12 semitones, so an octave, and one which pitched it up 19 semitones, so on one octave up, and then a perfect fifth up. So all three together sound like that. That sounds great. It's a great full sound. And the cool thing about this patch is, if I play just the first, there's an LFO coming in a little bit later, and that sounds great. But it depends on the pitch of the instruments. So because the samples are getting played faster and slower, or maybe I think it's a multi-sample, so maybe it's inside the synthesizer. You can do that too. So having a key track of the LFO. I just and so all of these LFOs of these free LFOs coming in different frequencies and just beating against each other just sounds great. Okay. Afterwards, because I wanted to have more grit, I put on a saturator. I wanted a little bit more of a stereo field without having some phasing or canceling issues. So I EQ'd this like that. So I have a mid-side EQ where for more stereo depth, I just increase the volume of the higher frequencies where there's not big of a problem of phasing and canceling out each other. And then I EQ'd out some unwanted frequencies and cut the very lows off. Afterwards, some heavy compression with the Molotov and some more grit it puts on it. You can hear all those like small noises in the background, all those grit. It's just great. And then because I could not use the filter of the nymphs, I needed to have a filter I can play. And so I took the auto filter of Ableton and put it on the MS2 emulation. And because I think that sounds great, put a little bit of resonance on it. And so I could automate the filter motion. And that's what I did here in this build up section. And that just sounds great. Okay, so afterwards I sidechained it to the kick to have the kick come through a little bit better, and to have this classic pumping sidechain effect, which mostly used in EDM or techno tracks. And afterwards I also compressed it to the vocals to have the vocals cut through a little bit better. I thought, because the vocals are so spare, I thought them to have a little bit more important role when they come in, and so I wanted to have the lead line a little bit more subtle on those parts. So I can show you here.
If you had a device which could transport you into the...
So this is with the compression, and this is without.
What would you do if you could harness the power?
You heard the frequencies a little bit fighting with each other, so I solved that with compression. So that's already it, I think. I don't... Yeah, afterwards I forgot to enable it again. The lead has a reverb too. It's also the same convolution reverb and the Swedish nuclear reactor impulse response signal. And afterwards also compression to the dry sound, not having some issues with the muddy mix there. Okay, and everything together. Okay, and for mastering, what I did is I used the utility for monoing the bass out, and some EQ8 just for rolling off the lower frequencies again for now and for the whole track. and then I used the auto filter to filter out the lows in some parts. Like here, kind of like a classical DJing transition. So okay, you hear there's something happening now, right now in the next few seconds. And afterwards, I put some basic compression on it. It's also a free plugin from Tokyo Dawn Labs called Kotelikov, which is more like a mastering or a clean compressor, just for compressing a little bit to have more glue, to have the mix be more glued together. I'm not a professional producer, so everything I say here is just take it with a pinch of salt that I'm self-taught kind of. I've never been to sound engineering school or university or something like that. So I have my daytime job is a whole different job like that. Okay, and afterwards the mastering, clean EQ, which where I lowered a little bit the lower frequencies because I thought they were a little bit too loud for the frequency spectrum. Did nothing with the mids and boosted a little bit of the highs above 4,500 kilohertz, 4,500 hertz, so 4.5 kilohertz. Afterwards, the limiter for having the loudness, and I used span as a spectrum analyzer. As you can see, it's not that balanced actually, the mix. Or maybe later in the track, yeah. When everything comes in, the track is more balanced because of all the percussion having the higher frequency spectrum obtained. So and afterwards I used a Yuli loudness meter to have kind of like a minus 14 LUFS integrated loudness, and that's perfect for kind of like Spotify or any streaming service, because that's what they normalize their loudness to. So if you have your tracks coming through on those streaming platforms perfectly, you should master to the specific loudness they use for their normalization. But actually, yeah, I think YouTube is the same. I'm not really sure. You could look that up. And because I made it for YouTube, I thought, okay, minus 14 LUFS, even with if it's not exactly the perfect for this YouTube normalization, it will go okay compared to if I master it to a louder LUF, integrated LUFS. So that is already it, I think. I'm happy if you watched until now. You can listen to the whole track. Maybe I will win something in this contest. Maybe not. I'm not really sure if I have the chance to, because there are other producers out there which are greater than me and make better music and are more creative. But it's part of the challenge to just be in the challenge and to have fun and to experiment a little bit, and that's what I like about it. It's a more like a minimalistic techno song, nothing special. I did it, I think, in one day, 4 hours or something. So everybody can do that, so have fun. Maybe it helped as a not quite beginner now, but kind of like getting intermediate producer like me. I think I'm not a bloody beginner, but I'm I'm getting better and better. Maybe that's something. There's something I could show you can use in your mixing and your producing. And so thank you for watching. Thank you for all the comments you will write down there. So just do that, okay? And yeah,